Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we have this 2020 GMC Yukon XL and we're going to do the side chrome delete installation for this vehicle. So as you can see, this is how the side panel looks before doing the installation, and this is how it looks after the installation. So we used the gloss black material in order to black out the side panels and also to match it to the pillars. Link for the product will be provided below. Well, that being said, let's get started with the installation video. These are the tools you need for the installation. So before we start with the installation for the side panel, we need to make sure we prep each panel. So all we need is water and baby shampoo mixed together in a spray bottle. Once you have your solution, spray it onto a clean microfiber towel and make sure to remove any contaminants that the panels may have. And then once you're done prepping each panel, make sure that everything's completely dry. That way the adhesive on the film is able to tack down to the panels. So we're going to start with the piece that covers this section of the panel. So with this one, there is a cutout that separates this from the other two here. So you want to start off by aligning it on the curved area and make sure you give yourself enough material to cover this side and this section of the panel. Once you place the film, just make sure you follow the design of the panel until you reach to the top edge. Lift the bottom half now and just follow the same steps as how we did for the top. Once you place the film, just grab your squeegee, start tagging down the entire film. Make sure to remove all of the air. And then once we finish tagging down everything, we're going to apply heat just to seal the entire curve design of the panel. That way the film starts molding to the design of the panel. And also to start helping the adhesive on the film activate faster. So start by applying heat around the curve and then work your way up and then to the other end. So apply heat, let the film cool down, and then start helping it mold to the curve. So just help it little by little. You can use your finger to help it squeegee side by side, or you can use your squeegee to help it tack down. Make sure everything's being covered, and now that everything's good to go, just follow through to the top and then the bottom. So once you finish applying heat and everything's tacked down, you're going to use your finger to create an outline of where you need to trim off the excess material. So there is a small gap in between the panel that was worked on and the rubber gasket. So just create an outline right in the middle, and you would just carefully take out your blade, insert right in the middle, and then just trim off the excess material. You slowly just follow through until you reach to the top end. You don't need to apply too much pressure, and do the same for the bottom section. Peel off the excess material carefully, and you should be good. Everything should be covered on this end. And then you just repeat it, follow through, trim off excess material on the bottom if you have any, and then continue on the top and on the sides. And then for the top and bottom edge, you are going to notice there's a small cutout, like I mentioned in the beginning, that separates this one from the top and the bottom panels. So when you apply heat and you tack down everything, you are going to notice the outline here. That's where the cutout is located. So you just create an outline with your finger, and then with your blade you would just carefully just trim off the excess material. So carefully just trim it off. Make sure you get the top too, and then peel it off. And then the other film, we'll start by aligning it here, and same for the top piece here. Create the outline and then trim off the excess material, and then we're good. So once you finish installing the front piece, now we can start with the other two pieces for the front door. So with this one, just place it onto the panel and start by aligning it where we did the cutout trim for the first piece. So just align it right where we left off. You can overlap it just a little bit, or you can just align it right to where the cutout is located. Just make sure that the chrome is being covered, and then just follow through until you reach to the other end. Go ahead and just grab your squeegee, do the same process, start removing all of the air that's underneath the film, pack everything down, and then we're going to apply heat to start sealing and helping the film mold to the design of the panel. and then we'll trim off the excess material. This section of the film for the lower piece, if you do have excess material, pull the rubber gasket down and you could tuck in the film. You would just take your time pulling it one by one, grab your squeegee, and then just tuck it inside. That way you don't have to trim the lower section. Just make sure once you finish tucking in everything to apply heat. That way that adhesive on the lower section is able to activate and tack down to the panel. And just do the same for the front side. And then we'll apply heat and then trim off the excess material. So once you finish applying heat, just create an outline for the top section. That way we know where we're going to trim off the excess material. So once you create the outline into your blade, and just slowly follow through until you reach to the other end, and it should come off easily like this. And then once you finish trimming off the excess material, apply heat to seal the edges that were trimmed off. And then just follow through, trim off here, and then you will repeat the same steps that were done here for the bottom piece. Make sure to start by aligning it where we ended for the first piece, and then just follow through with the rest of the panel. Okay, so now we're moving on to the bottom piece. Same process as how we did for the top. Start by aligning it where we left off for the first piece that was installed. So align it right on the edge. You could overlap it just a little bit or meet it right on the edge of the film that was installed. And with this one, use the lower half as the guide to align the rest of the film. So make sure you're covering the chrome and just follow through until you reach it to the other end. Grab your squeegee, start tacking down the film, remove any air, and then we'll apply heat to seal everything, trim off excess material afterwards, and then we should be good. Once you finish applying heat, create the outline on the top section of the panel, like how we did it for that end. And you can trim off the excess material. If you don't want to trim off the excess material, you can do the same thing as how we did it for the top, where you would just lift the gasket and then carefully tuck in the film. So you have two options. You could do the tucking in, or if you don't want to tuck in, create the outline, insert your blade, and just trim off the excess material. So those two options you have available, and then whichever option you go with, just make sure at the end to at least trim off the excess material on this end, and then apply heat to seal everything, and then we should be good. And then you would just repeat the same process that was done here for the rear door. So like I mentioned, it's just making sure you follow the same steps as how we did it for the front door. With this one, you would just start aligning here. Same step for this one, align it here. Work your way until you reach to the other end. And then grab your squeegee, tack down everything, remove all of the air, and then apply heat to seal the film and help the adhesive on the film activate faster. And then trim off the excess material. And then once both of them are done, move on to the last piece. Okay, so for the last piece that covers this panel, just make sure you start by aligning it onto the edge of this section of the panel. And make sure you give yourself enough material to cover the side and enough material to wrap around and cover this end as well. And then just follow through until you reach it to the top. And it should be like this. If you have any small fingers, you can always lift the film carefully and just help it lay it back down. Grab your squeegee, start tacking down the film. And then for this section here of the curve, you are going to need to apply a little bit of heat. That way we help the film tack down to the curve here. But before we do that, just make sure you secure everything. Make sure that everything's being covered. And then also apply heat around the edges as well. That way the film is able to tack down to the curve. So apply heat on the curve. And also apply heat on this section. Let the film cool down, and then with your finger, side by side, help it tack down. That way we avoid creasing it. And it should reach up to the curve. And then just continue applying heat, that way the adhesive activates and is able to tack down to the curve. And apply heat to the rest, and then make sure to finish squeegeeing here, and then we should be good. For the side sections of the pillar that we're working on here, just make sure, create an outline. That way you have an idea of where you're going to trim off the excess material. And do it on this side too as well. And if you can't tuck in the film here, you could lift it and tuck it in, but if you can't, then you will need to trim off the excess material. So just grab your blade, follow the outline that you created, and trim off the excess material. And just make sure to remove what we don't need, and you just follow through to the entire panel. And once you finish trimming off the excess material, just grab your heat gun, apply heat, that way we seal the entire film. And once you finish applying heat to this film, the last thing to do is to post heat the entire panel that we worked on. That way we help the adhesive on the film activate faster. So once you finish with the entire installation for the side panel, the last thing to do is to post heat each panel that was worked on. So just grab your heat gun, and you could use the low or the high setting for this part. Just make sure if you do use the high setting, not to be too close to the film. We don't want to accidentally burn it. So make sure you apply heat evenly throughout the entire panel. And then once you're done with this whole step, you're done with the installation. So that concludes the installation video for the side chrome lead installation for the 2020 GMC Yukon XL. We hope that the video helped you guys out with the installation. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of our upcoming installation videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.